What if the reason some people cannot understand you is because they are only looking at what is visible? There are things Allah can place inside a person that the world cannot immediately recognize. A quiet strength, a deeper awareness, a heart that begins seeing life differently. A light that does not come from popularity, status, or success, but from something much deeper. And perhaps you have felt this yourself. You have wondered why certain people misunderstand you, why you sometimes feel separated from the crowd, why Allah seems to keep you hidden while others are being seen. You may have thought something was wrong with you. But what if it was never about being rejected? What if Allah was protecting something within you that was not ready to be exposed? Ibn Arabi spent much of his spiritual thought exploring the hidden realities of the human being, the difference between what appears on the outside and what exists within the heart. And one of the most powerful ideas we can take from that perspective is this: not everything Allah places within you is meant to be immediately visible to the world. Some things must grow in silence. Some things must survive trials. Some things must remain hidden from people so they can become sincere before Allah. And there is something even deeper you need to understand. Allah's light does not need the world's permission to exist. People may overlook you, they may misunderstand you, they may fail to recognize what is changing inside you. But if Allah is nurturing something within your heart, their inability to see it does not make it any less real. So before you decide that being unseen means being forgotten, stay with this message. Because the very thing you thought was making you invisible may be the very thing Allah is using to prepare you to shine. The light within you is not meant to impress the world. There is a light Allah can place within a person that was never meant to become a performance for the world. It does not need applause, recognition, followers, or constant validation. Sometimes Allah develops the most important parts of you in complete silence, away from the attention of people. Because what He is building within you is deeper than what they can see. Ibn Arabi's spiritual thought constantly brings us back to the inner reality of the human being. What matters is not how impressive you appear before creation, but what is happening within your relationship with Allah. A person can look ordinary to everyone around them while carrying a heart that is becoming deeply aware of its Creator. Another can have status, wealth, and admiration while remaining completely distracted from their own soul. So if people do not recognize your value, do not immediately assume that you have been forgotten. Perhaps Allah is teaching you to stop depending on the gaze of creation. You may be asking, why doesn't anyone see what I carry? While the deeper question is, why do I need them to see it? Real spiritual growth often happens where nobody is watching. The prayer nobody knows about, the sin you quietly walk away from, the anger you control, the forgiveness you offer, the patience you maintain when nobody will praise you. These moments may be invisible to people, but they are never invisible to Allah. And this is where the ego must be watched carefully. When you discover something beautiful within yourself, the ego wants an audience. It wants people to notice that you are changing, becoming stronger, becoming more spiritual. But the closer the heart moves toward Allah, the less it needs to prove itself. So do not waste your life trying to convince people of the light Allah placed within you. Protect it, strengthen it. Let it make you more humble, more sincere, more patient, and more connected to Allah. Because the greatest test is not whether people recognize your light. The greatest test is whether you keep following it toward Allah when nobody does. Those with light recognize light in others. There is something beautiful about people who have experienced a deep transformation within themselves. They begin to recognize something similar in others. They do not need long explanations. They can sense sincerity, humility, and depth because they have learned to look beyond appearances. Ibn Arabi's spiritual perspective reminds us that the heart can perceive realities that the ordinary eye cannot. Not everyone will understand what is happening within you, but those who have cultivated their own hearts may recognize something familiar in yours. This is why you may sometimes meet someone who understands you without knowing your entire story. They notice the calmness behind your silence, the strength behind your patience, or the sincerity behind the way you speak. They are not necessarily impressed by your appearance or achievements. They recognize the qualities of the heart because they have learned to look beyond the surface. But there is another side to this lesson. When Allah places light within you, you may also discover that certain people become uncomfortable around it. Your growth can remind others of what they are avoiding within themselves. Your discipline may expose their distractions. Your peace may reveal their inner restlessness. Your refusal to follow every desire may make your choices difficult for them to understand. Do not take this personally. You were never created to make everyone comfortable with your transformation. Some people will recognize your light, some will misunderstand it, and some may never see it at all. Your responsibility is not to force them to understand. Your responsibility is to keep that light connected to Allah. Because the most beautiful thing about genuine spiritual light is that it does not make you desperate to be recognized. It makes you grateful when someone understands you, but peaceful when they don't. And perhaps that is how you know the light is becoming real. You stop needing everyone to see it. Allah may hide you before He reveals you. Sometimes being hidden is not a sign that your life is going nowhere. It may be part of the preparation. We often want Allah to open the door of recognition before we are ready to carry what is behind that door. We want people to notice us, understand us, and finally see what we believe Allah has placed within us. But sometimes Allah allows you to remain unseen, because your heart still needs to become stronger than your desire to be seen. Ibn Arabi's spiritual perspective places great importance on the hidden realities within a person. What appears small on the outside can contain something profound within it. Your current season may look ordinary, quiet, or even disappointing, but you cannot always judge what Allah is doing by what you can currently see. A seed buried beneath the soil looks forgotten, but it is precisely there that it begins to develop. There may be seasons when friendships disappear, opportunities close, and the attention you once received suddenly fades. You may wonder why Allah is allowing you to remain in the background while others seem to move ahead. But perhaps you are being taught something that visibility could never teach you: sincerity without an audience. When nobody is watching, you discover whether you truly want Allah or simply want what comes from being associated with Him. When nobody praises you, you discover whether you can continue doing good. When nobody recognizes your growth, you discover whether your transformation is genuine. So do not despise your hidden season. You may think Allah is delaying your revelation when He is actually preparing your character. You may think you are being overlooked when you are being protected from the wrong kind of attention. And you may think nothing is happening when, beneath the surface, Allah is changing everything. Sometimes Allah hides the light before He allows it to be seen, not because the light is weak, but because it is still being prepared to shine. Your inner light becomes stronger through trials. There are parts of your inner light that can only become visible after you have walked through darkness. When life is easy, it is difficult to know how deeply your heart is connected to Allah. Comfort can make you feel spiritually strong, because nothing is challenging your patience, your faith, or your dependence. But when life begins to test you, what is truly inside you starts to reveal itself. This is why some of the hardest seasons of your life may actually be shaping the strongest version of your soul. Ibn Arabi's spiritual perspective encourages us to look beyond the surface of our circumstances. A difficulty is not always simply something standing in your way. Sometimes it becomes a mirror, showing you attachments, fears, weaknesses, and desires that you were never able to see while everything was comfortable. The trial itself may hurt, but what it exposes can become the beginning of transformation. There are moments when Allah allows something you deeply wanted to slip away. A relationship ends, an opportunity disappears. A plan you spent years building suddenly changes. You pray for relief, but the situation continues longer than you expected. In those moments, the heart naturally asks, "Why is Allah allowing this to happen to me?" But perhaps another question deserves your attention. What is Allah teaching me through this? Pain can teach you what comfort never could. It can teach you patience when you want immediate answers. It can teach you surrender when you cannot control the outcome. It can teach you humility when your plans fail. And it can teach you where you were placing your trust. Sometimes the greatest transformation happens when you realize that Allah was not trying to destroy you through the trial. He was removing the things you were depending on instead of Him. The experience may take away your certainty about the future, but it can give you something deeper, certainty that Allah remains with you even when you cannot understand what He is doing. So when you are passing through a difficult season, do not immediately conclude that your light has disappeared. Sometimes darkness is where you learn how to protect it. Every time you choose patience instead of despair, forgiveness instead of bitterness, and trust instead of constant fear, that light becomes stronger. You may not see the growth while you are inside the trial, but one day you may look back and realize that the season you desperately wanted to escape was the very season that brought your heart closer to Allah. Some trials do not come to extinguish your light. They come to teach you how to carry it. Not everyone will understand what Allah is building within you. One of the hardest parts of spiritual growth is accepting that not everyone will understand the person you are becoming. You may begin changing your priorities, becoming more careful about what you allow into your heart, stepping away from things that once controlled you, and seeking a deeper relationship with Allah. Yet the people around you may only see the external changes. They may think you have become distant, strange, overly serious, or different from the person they used to know. What they cannot see is the internal struggle, the lessons, and the transformation taking place beneath the surface. This is where you must learn an important spiritual lesson. You do not need everyone to understand what Allah is doing within you. People judge according to what they can see, while Allah knows what is hidden. Someone may only see your silence, but Allah knows the battles behind it. Someone may see you walking away from something and think you are losing an opportunity, while Allah may know that you are protecting your heart. Someone may see your solitude and assume you are alone, while you may actually be using that season to reconnect with Allah. Ibn Arabi's teachings often direct attention toward the hidden dimensions of existence. What appears to be one thing on the surface can contain another reality underneath it. The same is true of your life. A closed door may look like rejection, but it may also be protection. A period of isolation may look like loneliness, but it may become a period of deep spiritual reflection. A delay may look like punishment, while it may actually be preparation. The problem begins when you allow other people's interpretations to become your own interpretation of your life. Someone tells you that you are failing, and suddenly you believe you are failing. Someone tells you that you have changed, and you start wondering whether your growth is actually a mistake. Someone does not recognize your effort, and you begin questioning whether your effort has any value. But people do not have access to the complete picture. They do not know every prayer you have made. They do not know the private decisions you have made for Allah. They do not know what you have had to overcome internally. They do not know what Allah has removed from your heart, or what He may still be teaching you. So be careful about allowing people who only see a small part of your journey to define the meaning of the entire journey. At the same time, this does not mean that every criticism should be ignored. Spiritual maturity is not believing that you are always right because you feel chosen or different. Sometimes Allah can use another person to reveal your arrogance, your mistakes, or your blind spots. The important thing is to learn how to distinguish between criticism that corrects you and criticism that simply tries to pull you back into the person you are no longer meant to be. If someone points out a genuine weakness, have the humility to listen. If someone simply mocks your desire to become closer to Allah, you do not have to let their opinion control your direction. You can respect people without allowing them to decide who you become. And there will be moments when you have to walk alone, not because you are better than everyone else, but because your path requires choices that others may not understand. You may have to say no when everyone else says yes. You may have to leave behind an environment that constantly pulls you away from Allah. You may have to disappoint people who were comfortable with the old version of you. That can hurt. But growth often hurts because the old version of you does not always want to disappear quietly. Your nafs may want approval. Your ego may want everyone to celebrate your transformation. Your heart, however, may be asking for something much deeper: sincerity. And sincerity sometimes requires you to keep walking even when there is no applause waiting for you. So if people misunderstand your journey, do not spend all your energy trying to explain it. You do not have to convince everyone that your intentions are pure. You do not have to defend every decision. You do not have to make everyone comfortable with the changes Allah is creating within you. Let your character speak over time. Let your patience speak. Let your humility speak. Let your consistency speak. And most importantly, let your relationship with Allah become the foundation beneath everything you do. Because the goal of spiritual growth is not to become someone everyone admires. It is to become someone whose heart is increasingly sincere before Allah. And perhaps one day, the same people who misunderstood your transformation may see its fruit. But whether they ever do or not, your responsibility remains the same. You are not here to make everyone understand what Allah is building within you. You are here to protect what He is building until it becomes visible through the way you live. When you stop chasing recognition, your light becomes clearer. There comes a point in spiritual growth when you realize that constantly wanting to be recognized can become another form of attachment. You may begin your journey sincerely, wanting to become better, closer to Allah, more disciplined, more conscious, and more connected to your faith. But slowly, the ego can enter through the back door. You start wondering whether people notice your changes. You begin comparing your journey with others. You wonder why someone else receives opportunities, respect, attention, or admiration, while you remain unseen. Without realizing it, your desire to grow for Allah can become mixed with a desire to be seen by creation. This is where the heart needs to become honest with itself. Ibn Arabi's spiritual thought places great importance on freeing the heart from illusions that keep it attached to appearances. One of the strongest illusions is believing that your value depends on how others perceive you. If people praise you, you feel valuable. If they ignore you, you feel insignificant. If they admire you, you feel successful. If they misunderstand you, you begin doubting yourself. But a heart that constantly moves according to people's opinions has not yet discovered true inner freedom. The deeper realization is that your worth was never created by human recognition in the first place. When you stop chasing recognition, something powerful begins to happen. You become more comfortable doing good without announcing it. You become willing to help without receiving credit. You become willing to improve without telling everyone that you are changing. You can pray, learn, reflect, serve, forgive, and struggle with your nafs without needing someone to confirm that you are becoming a better person. Your actions become quieter, but your intention becomes stronger. And that is where sincerity begins to become more important than appearance. This does not mean that recognition is always wrong or that you should reject appreciation when it comes naturally. The problem is not being appreciated. The problem is becoming dependent upon appreciation. There is a difference between receiving praise and needing praise. There is a difference between being noticed and needing to be noticed. There is a difference between having influence and building your entire identity around influence. The moment your heart begins saying, "I need people to see what I am," you have allowed the gaze of creation to become more important than the gaze of the Creator. Sometimes Allah may deliberately place you in situations where you receive very little recognition so that you can discover what is actually motivating you. You may work hard and receive no credit. You may make sacrifices that nobody understands. You may support others while someone else receives the praise. You may do the right thing and still be misunderstood. These situations can feel unfair, but they can also expose something extremely valuable. Whether you are doing what is right because Allah sees it, or because you want people to see you doing it. The person who learns this becomes difficult to manipulate through praise or criticism. Compliments no longer make them believe they are superior, and insults no longer convince them that they are worthless. They listen, reflect, correct themselves when necessary, and then continue walking. Their identity is no longer completely controlled by the opinions of people. They understand that human beings see only fragments, while Allah knows the entire reality of the heart. And this is where your inner light becomes clearer. The less you need to prove yourself, the more naturally your character begins to speak. You no longer have to tell people that you are patient, because your patience becomes visible. You no longer have to announce that you are strong, because your actions demonstrate strength. You no longer need to convince people that you are sincere, because sincerity begins appearing in the choices you make when nobody is watching. You become less concerned with constructing an image, and more concerned with becoming the person Allah knows you can be. So, if you are currently in a season where nobody seems to notice you, do not waste that season chasing attention. Use it to purify your intention. Ask yourself what you would still do if nobody ever thanked you, praised you, followed you, or remembered your name. Ask yourself whether you would still choose Allah if there were no visible reward in front of you. These questions can reveal more about the state of your heart than any amount of public recognition ever could. Because perhaps the greatest sign that Allah's light is becoming stronger within you is not that more people begin noticing you. Perhaps it is that you no longer need them to. You become peaceful without applause, steady without validation, and sincere without an audience. You stop asking, "Do they see me?" and begin asking, "Does Allah accept what I am becoming?" When the heart stops chasing the eyes of creation, it becomes free to live beneath the gaze of Allah. The greatest sign is that your light leads you back to Allah. The greatest mistake we can make when speaking about an inner light is to become so focused on ourselves that we forget where that light comes from. If Allah has placed goodness, awareness, wisdom, compassion, or a desire for truth within you, then the purpose is not to make you obsessed with your own uniqueness. It is not to convince you that you are superior to everyone around you, or to create an identity around being chosen. The real purpose of any genuine spiritual awakening is to turn the heart back toward Allah. The more light a person receives, the more clearly they should recognize their dependence upon the one who gave it. This is where the deeper spiritual perspective becomes important. In the tradition of Ibn Arabi, the human being is constantly being invited to look beyond the outward forms of existence and recognize the signs of Allah within creation and within the self. But this recognition should never end with the self. If you discover patience within yourself, you should become more grateful to Allah for teaching you patience. If you discover wisdom, you should become more humble, because you realize wisdom was not created by your ego. If you experience a moment of clarity after years of confusion, you should recognize that guidance is a gift, not a personal achievement that makes you better than others. Real light produces humility, because the person begins to understand how little they control. You may have moments when your heart feels alive during prayer, when a verse suddenly reaches you differently, when you experience a deep realization, or when you begin seeing your life through a completely different perspective. These moments can be beautiful, but they should not become another reason for the ego to say, "I am special." Instead, they should make you say, "Allah allowed me to see." That small difference changes everything. One response feeds the ego, the other deepens gratitude. A person who is genuinely moving toward Allah becomes less obsessed with proving that they are spiritually advanced. They become more concerned with whether their character is improving. Are they becoming more patient, more forgiving, more truthful, more merciful, more disciplined with their desires, more careful with the rights of others, more willing to admit when they are wrong, more dependent upon Allah, and less dependent upon praise? These are the questions that matter, because spiritual light should eventually become visible through character. If your spiritual experiences make you arrogant, they have not yet produced their deepest fruit. If your knowledge makes you look down upon others, you have misunderstood the purpose of knowledge. If your sense of being different makes you believe you are better than people, then the ego may have simply found a more sophisticated costume. The nafs can turn even spiritual ideas into a source of pride. It can take the language of humility and secretly use it to make you feel superior. That is why the safest sign of genuine light is not how extraordinary you feel. It is how sincerely you return to Allah. You may fall, but you return. You may become distracted, but you return. You may lose your way, but something inside you keeps pulling you back toward repentance, prayer, remembrance, truth, and sincerity. You may experience periods when your faith feels strong, and other periods when your heart feels heavy, but you continue turning toward Allah instead of completely abandoning the path. That return itself is something precious. And perhaps this is why you should not become overly concerned with whether you are one of Allah's chosen ones. The better question is whether you are becoming a servant who chooses Allah again and again. Labels can feed the ego, but servitude breaks the ego. The closer you become to Allah, the less important the title becomes, and the more important sincerity becomes. You do not need to know whether the world considers you special. You do not even need to convince yourself that you are special. You need to keep asking whether your heart is becoming more truthful before Allah. When hardship comes, do you turn toward Him? When blessings come, do you remember Him? When you succeed, do you remain humble? When you fail, do you repent instead of becoming hopeless? When nobody is watching, do you still choose what is right? This is where the idea of Allah's light becomes something much deeper than a beautiful metaphor. Light is not given merely to make you visible. It is given so that you can see the path. And if the light within you is genuine, it should help you see your own weaknesses more clearly, not just the weaknesses of other people. It should make you more compassionate, not more judgmental. It should make you more grateful, not more entitled. It should make you more dependent upon Allah, not more impressed with yourself. So perhaps the greatest sign that Allah is doing something beautiful within you is not that people suddenly recognize you, doors suddenly open, or the world suddenly begins treating you differently. Perhaps it is much quieter than that. Perhaps it is the moment when your heart begins choosing Allah, even when your desires pull you elsewhere. Perhaps it is the moment when you realize that nothing you receive from this world can compare to being close to Him. The world may notice your achievements, your appearance, your success, or your influence. But Allah sees the heart behind all of it. And when the heart begins to understand that, the hunger for recognition slowly loses its power. You no longer need to walk around asking, "Am I chosen?" You begin asking something much more meaningful. Am I walking toward Allah? Because at the end of the journey, the greatest light is not the light that makes people notice you. It is the light that helps you recognize your Lord. And if every beautiful thing Allah places within you leads you back to Him, with more humility, more sincerity, more gratitude, and more love, then you have discovered what that light was always meant to do. It was never meant to make you worship your own reflection. It was meant to help you find your way back to Allah. Conclusion. Perhaps the most important thing to remember is this: you do not need to spend your life proving that Allah has placed something within you. If there is light in your heart, let it be revealed through your character, your patience, your sincerity, your humility, and the way you return to Allah when life becomes difficult. Do not become attached to the idea of being chosen simply because you feel different. The real honor is not in believing that you are above others. It is in becoming more humble before Allah. The closer you come to Him, the less you need recognition from people. You stop asking the world to confirm your worth, because you begin understanding that your deepest worth is known by the one who created you. There will be seasons when you are hidden, misunderstood, rejected, or overlooked. Do not let those seasons convince you that Allah has abandoned you. Sometimes the hidden season is where sincerity is developed. Sometimes the trial is where your character is strengthened. Sometimes the silence is where your heart learns to hear what the noise of the world was preventing you from hearing. And if Allah has placed a light within you, protect it from arrogance, protect it from the hunger for attention, protect it from the desire to be admired. Let that light make you kinder, more patient, more truthful, more forgiving, and more dependent upon Allah. Because the purpose of the light was never to make people worship your image. It was to guide you toward your Creator. So stop worrying about who sees you. Stop chasing the recognition of people who may never understand your journey. Keep walking, keep purifying your heart, keep returning to Allah, and keep becoming the person He is calling you to become. One day, you may understand why certain doors closed, why certain people left, why certain seasons had to remain hidden, and why Allah did not allow the world to see everything He was doing within you. Until then, remember this: Allah's light does not become weaker because the world cannot see it. Sometimes, it becomes stronger precisely because it grew where nobody was looking. And if that light keeps leading you back to Allah, then perhaps you were never meant to shine for the world in the first place. You were meant to shine by walking toward Him.